My friends, good morning. Check out my new mug from my buddy Steven. Steven commented in here so people can hit you up. He owns this company, Brand You, and he makes these awesome coffee tumblers and other stuff. It's good stuff. I just got a package from him last night, and I got this new one in here. So, Steven, thank you for this, my friend. My friends, if you have not read this book, I would highly suggest it. Now, this being said, if you were a sensitive snowflake, if you voted for Hillary, if you were an Obama sympathizer, if you just flat out don't have a job, don't want to have a job, or do we even know we know who the sensitive snowflakes are. Just don't read this book, because this really might offend you. Like, this is something that actually is quite a fascinating book. Frederick Bastiste, I've read this book quite a few times. It's The Law, and he's written a couple of different books, but this is a fantastic book. And as I was reading this morning, I like this book because it makes you think. It's not saying what's right or wrong, or saying it's not a Republican or a Democrat book or a conservative or a liberal book. It's a book that makes you think about the government and the laws and the rules and societal ideas of how we operate. So it makes me think, and I love picking this thing up and just opening up one or two chapters. The Fate of Nonconformists, Who Shall Judge? These are like the title chapters. Victims of Lawful Plunder, The Results of Legal Plunder. There's so many different ideas to this book, but here's something that's really fascinating. Like, a lot of people don't understand how Trump won, and I'm not going to turn this into a political conversation. I'll do that later. But this book has you think about, like, the nature behind things, why we do what we do, why politicians make the laws that they do, why special interests are so heavily involved in the operation of our country, why you and I, as normal peasants of this great land that we live in, are in most cases completely oblivious to the thousands and thousands of laws and rules and bills that are passed each year. Now, I'm very outspoken. I did a deal last week where I brought my daughter flowers, and people were saying, you're breaking the law, and the school didn't want us to bring flowers. You're breaking the law, and you're breaking the rules, and you are this bad person. Well, what's fascinating is there was no rule, and there was no law. I called the school district. I called the school and said, is there anything stopping a father from delivering flowers to their daughter? And they said, no. Now, what happened, though, is tons and tons of people on my Facebook were like, you're breaking the law, and you think you're this elitist, and you can just do whatever the hell you want. Sheep marching blindly to what they believe is law, to what they believe and what they've been programmed and taught is law. Really fascinating read this morning. The nature of law is to maintain justice. This is so much the case that in the minds of people, law and justice are one and the same thing. There is in all of us a strong disposition to believe that anything lawful is also legitimate. There is in all of us a strong disposition to believe that anything lawful is also legitimate. Why do we believe that? Because that's how we've been programmed since we were little children. Sit down, quiet down, shut up. If the teacher says it, it's got to be the rules. If the principal says it, it's got to be the rules. If the cop pulls you over and says, this is it, that's it. What if he's wrong? What if that's not legitimately the law? What if that's not legitimately the case? There is in all of us a strong disposition to believe that anything lawful, you can't bring flowers to school, is also legitimate. Well, guess what? It wasn't lawful, nor was it legitimate. But most dads would be like, oh, okay, dang it. Well, I guess I can't bring flowers to school. This belief is so widespread that many persons have erroneously held that things are just because law makes them so. Thus, in order to make plunder appear just and sacred to many consciousness, it is only necessary for the law to decree and sanction it. If you want your mind blown, reread this one paragraph like 10 times. This belief is so widespread by us peons, by us peasants, that in order to make plunder appear just and sacred to many consciousness, It is only necessary for the law to decree and sanction it. A cop says, this is the law, you can't do that. Well, bullshit. That's actually not a law. And that's just your opinion and what you're saying. And because you're wearing a badge, you think that you can tell me what to do. You heard this before? You seen this before? Slavery, restrictions, and monopoly find defenders not only among those who profit from them, but also among those who suffer from them. Now, this is the really cool part. The fate of nonconformists. I would consider myself a nonconformist. Am I a revolutionist? I consider myself an outward thinking individual. I like to think outside of the box. I like to ask a simple question that most children ask, which is why? My little kids, why? I was raised where I was like, don't ask questions, just do it because I told you to do it. I'm the father. I'm the dad. I'm the law. I'm the teacher. I'm the this. I'm the that. Listen to me and obey. Well, here I am at 38 years old asking the question, why? More than probably my children. This is really interesting. The fate of nonconformists. I consider myself a nonconformist. Maybe you consider yourself a nonconformist. If you suggest a doubt as to the morality of these institutions, it is boldly said that you are, quote, dangerous, a utopian, a theorist, a subversive. You would shatter the foundation upon which society rests. Why does my nose run every morning? I'm going to have to Google this and figure this out. If you suggest a doubt as to the morality of these institutions, the government, the rules, the laws, so on and so forth, it is boldly said that you are dangerous, a utopian, a theorist, a subversive. You would shatter the foundation upon which society rests. If you question the system, if you question it all, if you ask any questions, you're going to shatter the foundation of America. If you don't abide by this law or this law, do you understand how illegal our current tax system is? Illegal. Not just crooked and shady. Illegal. Have you looked this up? Have you looked this up? Our current tax system, the IRS, is literally illegal. Think about it. Most of you think that I'm crazy. Most of you are like, what are you talking about? It's the IRS. I send them money every year. And then I get a tax return. That's how it's always been. Because you've been programmed, my friends. So, that being said, it's an absolutely phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. The Law by Frederick. Great book. Opens your eyes, makes you think. And I like to think. So my friends, check out his book and think about this conversation. What if it's not really the law? What if the law is unjust? What if the government in some ways is unjust? Put that in your pipe and smoke it, my friends. And then get this book and read it. I've read it a bunch of times and it's really good. He's got a bunch of other books too, which I highly recommend. But we'll get to those. So my friends, God bless America.